I'm on the road again. Looks like I am on the road again. Is there anybody that will let me in? To the top 500, Wild Pop Golden Episode 3. This isn't even real. Very much against animal cruelty. Not against cruelty to other trainers' Pokemon, though, in these battles, even though we didn't do that good in today's battles. So, these are the battles from May 22nd. It's not always about winning. It is about understanding why we win when we do, and understanding why we lose when we lose, and trying to fix the mistakes. Even trying to fix mistakes that could have happened in the wins. And I think battling comes down to three major elements, three key components, and they are: one, understanding the meta being what the most used Pokemon are. Number two, picking a good team out of that pool and understanding that pool, knowing what all the best and most used Pokemon are. Picking a team of three that's going to perform the best against all those Pokemon is crucial, vital to success. And number three, and what we're going to focus on mostly in today's episode, is picking a good lead. Starting off with the right Pokemon puts you in a position that is going to win you so many games if you're in a winning position right from the start. And having a good team, having a good lead puts you in a position to win right from the start. And that's very important. So, with that being said, new team today: Stunfisk in the lead, Altaria, Azumarill. No real safe switch again, but I love Stunfisk in the lead. I was, basically, what I do to determine my lead is this. I'll show you even. Made a list. Got a list right here. Basically what I do is I take all those relevant Pokemon in the Great League meta. There's about 30, 35. I only put 30 on here because more kept popping up. And then I'll take Pokemon that I think will be a good lead. Like right here we have Skarmory. And what I'll do is I'll go down the list. It'll be Skarmory versus Skarmory. Right there I'll put a little dash. That's neutral. Skarmory versus Registeel, for instance. That's bad. So I'll put a little X, and then Skarmory versus Altaria, we'll put a check mark because that's good. And I'll do that for every Pokemon that's relevant in the meta, and then we'll tally up the scores. And what I've learned is that who I think the two best Pokemon are in the lead would be either Stunfisk or Hypno. And because I see so many Registeel leads, I wanted to go with Stunfisk. I had a very good feeling about it, about knowing Discharge and Mud Bomb is two really good charge moves, and he charges up very, very quickly. So, in this episode, Stunfisk lead, jumping right into the battles right now. Here we go. Alright, so first game, we see a Mew. Very, very neutral matchup at the beginning. Mew is just, could know anything. I never used Stunfisk before. I jumped right into these battles having no idea how to use it, and I figure what's the best way to learn than just going into the game and seeing what happens. So right here, I make an interesting switch. I probably shouldn't have switched into Azumarill. I probably should value the shield more than I should value the being switch locked right there. So I go into Azumarill, we get hit with a Wild Charge, and then they go into their Azumarill, and now we're already in a pretty losing position because that Azumarill is going to be able to farm up a ton of energy. They're only going to Ice Beam, but now they're going to farm us down. We're actually going to go for a Hydro Pump and try to whittle it down a little bit. And but that was just a mistake. We should have left Stunfisk in, and if we saw Mew's first attack, we just shield it, and then we see what it is, and then hopefully if they hit us with it again, if it's I mean, they hit the Azumarill with the Wild Charge, but their other move might have been Ice Beam, so kind of got to take that into account. If we shield it probably would have been an Ice Beam against Stunfisk. We shield that, and then we don't switch lock ourselves instantly. That just puts us at a huge disadvantage. So here we got Stunfisk, Azumarill, and we're going to try to farm up a little bit extra energy before we knock it out. And we do, and now we're in a pretty bad position. They have a shield up on us, and they are not going to use it on that Mew, so they're down to their last Pokemon. And with a shield up, and that Stunfisk being pretty much knocked out, and us not having any shields, we know that this is pretty loud, I'm sorry. We know that Altaria is good at whittling down Registeel, but when we don't have any shields and they have a shield, it's just not going to happen. So, mistakes were made in the first few battles. Me trying to... One, I was pretty pretty shaky and just a little nervous going, alright, what do I do with Stunfisk? I don't want to mess anything up. I'm accumulating some points and I'm trying to get in this leaderboard, and I don't want to do anything wrong, and I don't really know how to play him. So there we see a Skarm lead. That's why we chose Stunfisk. Perfect against Skarmory. They go into Shiftry. Now, Shiftry is frail, but it has a very, very good moveset because Foul Play does a ton of damage. And we can't go Azumarill because Leaf Blade would do a ton of damage. And at least Altaria can whittle down with Dragon Breath. Azumarill knows Bubble, and that would be not very effective, and we would just take Leaf Blades all day. So the better matchup here is Altaria, even though it's not ideal, and we do waste both shields on Foul Plays right there. So they go back into Skarm. We're going to have to try to whittle it down a little bit. Now right here, I go into a quick change. They still have a shield, and I go into Stunfisk, and this might have been a mistake. We get their last shield out of them, but now they go Meganium. So this is probably going to be a losing situation anyway, but what I think should have happened was I let Altaria stay in, I let the Skarmory whittle it down, and then when we go Stunfisk, they can Sky Attack, they can Flash Cannon. Both of those are not very effective against Stunfisk, so they probably would have kept the energy and switched out to Meganium, and our switch for that would have been Azumarill, and even though we have this Altaria, well, we wouldn't have had it, I'm sorry, because it would have been knocked out, and we would have had to go into Azumarill, and that would have been a losing situation anyway. So if we didn't use shields on the Shiftry, then it would have been taken out even earlier, the Altaria, and we would have had one shield, but Meganium just probably would have caked us anyway, honestly. So so this was just a losing scenario. Shiftry does very good against this team. Shiftry is definitely a threat to this team. So 0-2. Now we see an Altaria. Watching all these battles now for me is kind of funny because I've learned in the past few days how much damage and charge moves and damage output and from all these Pokemon, how much they're doing. So, and more so what's going on. So, interesting trade rate, or interesting switch out right here. I wouldn't do that now. And we'll see in later episodes why you shouldn't do that against Altaria at the beginning. So I put myself again right here in a terrible situation. Look how much this Galvantula's switch quick moves are doing. Why am I stuttering so much right now? We take a discharge, that's fine. It could have whittled us down, but it valued its shield more. Didn't want to get hit with another Ice Beam, and Galvantula is pretty frail. So Bug Buzz would do a ton. We're going to whittle it down, try to get some extra farmed up energy, knowing that it just used its energy on that Bug Buzz. And this is interesting because we try to switch out right there for this Bug Buzz. It would be very, very not very effective against that Altaria. And we're going to have to use the last shield here. We whittle it down, so now we have some farmed energy, and they have a shield. That's pretty much the position we're in. So they use their last shield. We go Altaria, and they switch into Azumarill. And now we have to keep in mind that Altaria in the back does have farmed energy, and this is a losing battle for sure against this Azumarill, because one Ice Beam is going to absolutely destroy us. And then we need to get two discharges off. We might be able to get this Sky Attack off. Alright, so one discharge for the Azumarill and then one for the Altaria, and we should be okay. But the Bubble's going to do so much damage against our Stunfisk that we might not even get a chance. Oh, we had farmed energy. Okay, so Mud Bomb, keep the energy, get rid of the Azumarill, and now it's going to come down to this. And we know they have a ton of energy, so we see a Dazzling Gleam, not a Sky Attack, and because they had all that energy farmed up, that Dazzling Gleam takes out the Stunfisk, and so 0-3, so we're doing weird switches and switch locking ourselves and just not knowing these matchups, and this is all part of trying a new team, and so we see an Azumarill lead. So we're seeing a whole bunch of different leads here. And now in the Azumarill lead, we know Play Rough, Ice Beam, Hydro Pump. We see a Hydro Pump. And the count for this is we will get our charge move set up with 5 quick moves. And then if they use a charge move right there, it's Ice Beam or Play Rough. And if we get 2 more quick move energies in, quick attacks we'll call them, quick moves in, before they attack, they will be able to get off a Hydro Pump. Is it always going to be a Hydro Pump? No. They might try to bait us with something else and keep some energy and get us to waste a shield. But in this case, it was a Hydro Pump. So now we're in a pretty good position. They have a switch locked Altaria. We have our Azumarill counter for them. So this worked out pretty nicely. Finally in a good position. We didn't switch lock ourselves. We stayed strong. And we said Stunfisk is a good answer to Azumarill. We are going to have to burn a shield when it attacks. But we are going to be able to get off a bunch of... There are going to be so many Stunfisk Azumarill matches in the coming episodes. So we're really going to be able to see... just how specific that matchup is and how it plays out the same a lot. So right here we see a dynamic punch. We're able to ice beam that Altaria and take it out in one hit, being switch locked, and then that dynamic punch isn't going to take out the Azumarill. We get in some good damage and then we just switch in and finish up the game. So let's just focus on this game right now. We see a Haunter, weak to ground type, but very quick. So we see an attack right off the rip. It is a Shadow Punch. We take that. Stunfisk is actually kind of tanky with certain things. And right there, they let the Mud Bomb go through. That's a one-shot, and that's just a good position for us. We just take a free Pokemon right off the rip, and that does about 25%, it looks like. So now, interesting play here. We probably could have went for another one, but we don't want to get hit with a Power Whip. So we go into Altaria. We take a Thunder. We Sky Attack. They block that. Now we're not in the worst spot because if they knock us out, we can go Azumarill and knock out the Deoxys, even though we want to keep a shield in case it gets down to the Ferrothorn Azumarill matchup at the end, because Ice Beam is going to be our friend, but we don't want to take any Power Whips, and he charges that up quickly. So we let this one go through. We do have that Stunfisk still. And they're going to go into that Ferrothorn. We're going to hit him with a Mud Bomb, put more pressure on him. Azumarill may not have to do too much in this game because Stunfisk does charge up its moves very, very quickly. So they have to block this one. And they are going to waste that energy to knock out this little bit of health, but we're going to block it because we know that Mud Bomb is going to put so much pressure on it that we could probably switch right here if we're not still switch locked and just finish it off with Bubble, even though it's not very effective. And we can take a Power Whip or Thunder Azumarill. We'll take a ton of damage but still be okay, and then when they come out with this Deoxys, it's so frail that we win the last two. So the first set with the new team, we lose the first three, and then we start to understand how quickly we get to our attacks and how much farmed energy our opponents have and which attacks are going to come out when. So here we go. We have an Altaria again, and now watching this, we know, well, now I know, I didn't know at this point, but we're going to be able to get off almost 2 discharges before they attack. If they attack at any point when you have your 8th farmed energy or your 8th quick move gone off, it's going to be a Sky Attack. If you have that second discharge ready to go and they hit you with a charge move first, it's going to be either a Dragon... What is it? Not Dragon Breath. Dragon Pulse. There it is. Dragon Pulse or Dazzling Gleam. So, be mindful of that. So we go into Altaria. Again, no reason to switch. We will see in the later episodes Stunfisk can handle Altaria even if we have to burn a shield sometimes, depending on the mind game that they play or which charge move they decide to use. So we go back into Stunfisk to handle this Azumarill because we want to keep Altaria alive. Or unless we just let we let Altaria get knocked out, and then we go back into Stunfisk. So now we go into Azumarill, and we're going to try to farm this thing down, even though it's going to get a bunch of Sky Attacks off. Dragon Breath isn't doing too much. Now we have a ton of farmed energy. we see their Azumarill, and we're just going to go for an Ice Beam here. We don't want to take any extra damage if we don't have to. We're going to get rid of it. We still have a bunch of energy, and we see their last Pokemon is Registeel. Now they're probably going to shield this, so we maybe could have baited it with the Ice Beam. But they actually take it knowing that we have Stunfisk in the back, and a Mud Bomb will do about 40%, so they need to block this. And we know we can get to another Mud Bomb faster than they can get to a Focus Blast. Flash Cannon might not take us out. They actually use the Flash Cannon right there, thinking maybe it would, but it wouldn't knock us out. I don't even know if it would right now. And now they're going to get off a Flash Cannon for sure, but with so little energy and so little health, Azumarill's going to be able to just come in and clean up, and we take a dub. So, I'm wearing this hat the whole time, by the way. I like it. I feel like Davy Crockett or something. Alright, so here we go. Now we got Azumarill, Stunfisk. They switch out instantly. They don't like that matchup. And there's a few different ways you could play this now. We have Azumarill for their Azumarill. It's not a real answer, and Altaria is not an answer for their Azumarill. So we decide to get rid of our energy to put some damage on the Sableye. And then we go into our own Azumarill. That is the best counter for Sableye, and also we want to keep that Azumarill in the back in check. So they're going to go into theirs. Now we're going to have a boring Azumarill War, where we get off Hydro Pump. Looks like we're going to be taking one as well. I can't wait. Oh, I'll show you guys the new episodes, man. This is crazy. So we go into Stunfisk right here. They block that discharge. We're going to block this instantly, no question. We know we're winning the energy farm race by a lot. So we're going to hit them with another discharge right here. And they're going to let that one go through, and we're going to farm down. So now we're in a very, very good spot. We see a Alolan Marowak. So we Mud Bomb that. That one they block, but we have so much energy from farming down that Azumarill that we're going to do a ton of damage with this one. And then we're just going to switch into Altaria before they could farm up any energy and just go to work, and they know that, and they leave. So here we go, Wigglytuff lead. Charm, as always, doing a ton of damage, but Wigglytuff, I wouldn't say it's too tanky, I wouldn't say it's too frail, it's kind of medium, but its downfall in my eyes is that it takes a very long time to charge up its moves. So right here, I think I make a mistake by going into Azumarill. Play Rough does a lot, and now they go into their own Azumarill. So we know they have a Wigglytuff with no energy in the back in this Azumarill, and we're just playing again in a Azumarill match. That Play Rough is going to knock us out. So now we go back into Stunfisk, and hopefully Stunfisk can take out this Azumarill and keep some energy like in the last game. They're going to go for a Play Rough that, wouldn't knock us out. But it was farming that energy fairly quickly, as it does. We have a second discharge ready to go, so they block the first one. The second one, they're going to block that one as well, and because we farm up energy so quickly, we could almost get to a third one, but they actually go into Wigglytuff first, and because they don't have any more energy, they get knocked out by the Mud Bomb. But the Azumarill comes in, and we know that we can take an Ice Beam or a Play Rough. We don't necessarily want to, but we do want to try to knock them out with this Sky Attack. And we actually go for a little bit extra farmed energy, knowing that they don't have any energy. So we see Altaria now. We do knock it out before we can go for another Ice Beam, and we know that we have the farmed energy on this Altaria, so we're gonna go for that Dragon Pulse, try to get it. And that Sky Attack is all they're going to be able to get to. Not going to be enough, and we're going to take the win right there. Alright, so we're still making mistakes, but we're getting some wins. And now we see a Registeel lead. This is why we went with Stunfisk. I was chomping at the bit to see some Registeel, and now we finally do. So the first Mud Bomb they almost always let go through. Now we could take a Focus Blast here. And we do. It does about 55%, but we are charging up faster than they are. So what's going to happen is we're going to Mud Bomb. If they let it go through, which they do, before we hit them with this one right here, if they sometimes go for a Desperation Flash Cannon, sometimes it's a Focus Blast. So right here, it looks like I'm going to shield this one, and it is only a Flash Cannon. It wouldn't be very effective. And instead of trying to farm it down, because it would be able to get off another Flash Cannon or even a Focus Blast, we're just going to hit him with a Mud Bomb. And that just seems like a losing battle for my opponent. There's really no reason to stay in with Registeel, because we're both at one shield, and they're just down a Pokemon, and now their Azumarill is down about half. And basically, if they switch out with their Azumarill, we can switch into Altaria to counter whatever they switch out of. And then obviously our Azumarill has more health than theirs does, so we will probably win that match. But it looks like they're going to stay in, so we're just going to farm up a bunch of energy. And we're going to not be able to take it out. Looks like this might be an Ice Beam. And we're going to take that, never waste a shield on that if we don't think they have enough energy. And they go Haunter, and they're going to be able... Now, Haunter's frail. That's his problem. So, if this is a Shadow Ball, you block it, and then you really can just farm it down before it can get to another Shadow Ball. Altaria can Dragon Breath a Haunter down about 50% before it can get a Shadow Ball off. So, well, even like either 50% or a little over. So you'll pretty much always win that battle if you have at least one shield. So here they block the first Mud Bomb. And we're going to block this Mud Bomb. We see a Toxicroak lead, by the way. And that's very good for us because we charge up a little bit faster than it does. And even though we're both super effective against each other, that takes a ton of damage. And it looks like I'm going to let this one go through as well. And before I try to Mud Bomb it, it's actually going to knock us out. And that puts us in a pretty bad position because we just lost Switch Advantage. I feel like I should have shielded their Mud Bomb. That would have been a good play. So we have to counter their Azumarill with Azumarill, and they have a Registeel for us, and that's just bad news. All it took was that losing lead and losing switch locking ourselves and losing the Switch Advantage to make this potentially good lead into a losing game in what is one extra shield. I mean, the shields are obviously dire, very, very important, but when it comes to Switch lead, it's pretty important that you have Switch lead. I mean, it's situational, but I value Switch Advantage more than a shield most of the time, I feel like. So here we go for an Ice Beam, maybe try to bait it out, nothing doing, and now they have a shield in a Azumarill. We have an Altaria. It's just not going to happen. So we actually go 4-1 in the second set. So the first set we go, let me check my documents. 2-3. Now we're 4-1. Alright, so 6-4 for having not used Stunfisk before. So, not too bad. But I will say this. I don't want to say too much while we're catching a Snivy, which I'm not very fond of. I will say this. Tomorrow's episode is the sauce. That's all I'm going to say. Tomorrow, Stunfisk is going to go to work, and in the episodes to come, we're going to see Stunfisk go to work, and we're rolling with Stunfisk, even on the day I'm recording this, and it is, I'm recording this on May 28th, but these battles took place on May 22nd, and we're still rolling with Stunfisk, so expect a lot of Stunfisk in the upcoming battles. With that being said, it looks like they safe switched into a Hypno. We went into our Azumarill, and Hypno made me think a lot about this team. I almost switched this team at some point for the sole fact that Hypno's Ice Punch and Thunder Punch is such a deadly combination. So it looks like we got hit with a attack tie right there. Otherwise, I would have never used that Ice Beam. I would have just tried to farm it down. But unfortunately, we do have to use the Ice Beam after we block their Thunder Punch. They take that Ice Beam, no problem, and now we're in a pretty bad spot. We're going to go into Stunfisk here and have to waste our second shield, probably on an Ice Beam or a Hydro Pump. Ice Beam it is. And now they have 2 shields, and they're already ready to go with a second attack, so we're going to take a ton of damage here. Looks like 55%. They block the first discharge. And this looks like an L already. We know we have an Altaria in the back. Hopefully they don't block this, but they do. And we make... I mean, we don't do anything. I'm glad we didn't do anything, because that was terrible. So, here we go. Stunfisk, Shadow Gardevoir. That thing is very frail. It does a ton of damage, but it's very, very frail. And I think it's gimmicky because it's just such a liability that they have to waste shields to protect this thing, and it also takes very, very long to charge. So I don't know if I like the fact that I keep switching. Look how much damage that just did to a tanky Azumarill. That Shadow Ball probably would knock this out. And so they switch, and their Azumarill counter is Azumarill. Again, no real reason to switch right there. We could have just kept farming and kept putting pressure on the Gardevoir, even though it would have farmed us down eventually should they decide to shield everything up. But we don't get punished too badly because it's just an Azumarill, so now this game is still winnable. And it looks like we're going to go Azumarill for Azumarill here. Ice Beam will not knock us out. It will basically knock us out, and then it's going to get that little bit of extra farmed energy. So we go back into Stunfisk, and this is a bad position for us because it can farm us down with Dragon Breath, and then when we go Altaria, it's going to have more energy on us. So we switch into Altaria very quickly, and we are going to use our shield right here, and then try to farm it down and have a ton of energy. And it does take a little while to charge up, so we do farm it down successfully, and then let's see what they're going to throw in. We are tapping like an animal. They go Azumarill. We don't waste any time. Right into the Sky Attack. They are going to block that one. And we're just going to go right for a second one before it could do anything. So we do get that last shield out of them. And we do still get the knockout. And now when that Gardevoir comes in, it's an HP away from getting knocked out. So we take the win right there. Questionable playing, but not getting punished. But just because you walk away with the win, I can't stress enough that it's very easy to lose a game and shake your head and go, oh, I can't believe I did that. That's terrible. But when you win a game, sometimes you just sweep it under the rug. You go, okay, I won, on to the next one. And you don't think about how you easily could have lost that game. So it's very important to understand why you're winning as well as why you're losing. I'm a firm believer in that. So we take a Skull Bash, they get the defense raise. We're going to go for a Hydro Pump right here and try to do some extra damage. Ice Beam wouldn't really do anything. We do get a shield out of them, and we are going to take the Surf. It's not going to do too much. And looks like they have another one, and I don't think it's going to knock us out either. We might be able to get... Oh, it does knock us out. Okay, so we're not able to get that Hydro Pump off, and now, unfortunately, Altaria has to take a bunch of damage, and we don't have switch advantage, but we are up a shield. So here comes the Mew, raring to go, attack right off the rip. It's a Dragon Claw, better than Ice Beam for us, and we go Sky Attack here. We know Mew is pretty frail, so they might have to burn another shield. They don't. They opt not to. So they go Azumarill here. Hopefully we can get off the Sky Attack before they Ice Beam, and it's going to do a good amount of damage to Azumarill, so they let it go through knowing what we have. We're going to let this one go through because we're going to need that shield to protect this guy right here. So we discharge first. Going to definitely see a shield, I think. And now when we see their move, we're obviously going to have to use ours. We don't want to take an Ice Beam. It's just a play rough, so that's going to be a huge matter in this game. Actually, it doesn't look like it's going to be because the bubble's doing so much. Are we going to be able to farm it down before? Is player going to be able to knock us out? Yes, it is. Okay, so that's an L. Bubble does a ton to Stunfisk. But I do think we have an advantage in that lead matchup. But aside from that, let's see this lead matchup. They instantly switch, and this is the team's bread and butter, honestly. We see a Registeel, they instantly switch. Some people don't. Some like to get off a Focus Blast. Some like to have to waste a shield or two on it. They go right into Altaria to counter the Stunfisk, which isn't even the best Stunfisk counter, but we have a perfect counter for that. in Azumarill. Even though Sky Attack does a lot, I still will always like Azumarill against Altaria. So, they block the Ice Beam. They have to block both. Now, if we block this Sky Attack, then we are going to have an Ice Beam raring to go, and they're going to have no shields. So, they're going to have to take this, and now we're up a Pokemon. Not a huge amount, because we don't have too much energy. But we're going to get them to waste their energy to knock this thing out instead of taking a Hydro Pump. And they don't even take it out right there. So, So we do get a little bit extra chip off. That's interesting. And now we just go right back into Stunfisk, and they have no shields. So we do a ton of damage with the Mud Bomb. And we're going to start farming up some more. They're going to switch into Hypno. And we're just going to try to start doing some damage on this so Altaria can come clean up. Because Ice Punch is very, very deadly to Altaria. So we know we could take whatever this is. It is an Ice Punch, and we do take it. It does some good damage, but it's really not a ton of damage, and I think that's what made me realize Stunfisk is still the man over Hypno, or woman, or Pokemon. I guess that's what they are, right? So we Mud Bomb, and we do farm it down, and now we know that Registeel is weak in the back. We're actually going to let this one come through so Altaria could just come in and clean up, and we have a shield, and there's just no way they could win this one, so good win right there. Alright, Deoxys leads. Deoxys either know Thunderbolt, Rock Slide, or Psycho Boost. Two of those three moves. Psycho Boost doesn't do a ton to Stunfisk, and it will lower their attack. And then they'll be in a pretty bad position, and Rock Slide and Thunderbolt both do very little to Stunfisk. So I like this matchup a lot. Look how little that did. Even though they have a second one, we let both of them go through, and we're going to put a lot of shield pressure on them right now with our attacks. So either we win lead outright, or we get a shield out of them, and we're just going to try to... It's not really a bait with the Mud Bomb. It's still going to do a bunch of damage, but it's just a little bit less energy expenditure. They block this Mud Bomb, that would pretty much one-shot. So now we are up a shield, and we have switch advantage. And I want to take the Shadow Punch. That was interesting call right there. Now we're still up a shield, and they go into their Registeel, and we go into Azumarill. I don't know if we had to do that. We could have kept Altaria in to whittle it down, but we keep Altaria for the Haunter, and we try to Hydro Pump this Registeel. They let it go through, knowing a Sky Attack on Haunter will knock it out. So we take a Flash Cannon here. We are saving these shields, and we're going to go for an Ice Beam before it goes for another Flash Cannon to knock us out. And it's going to have to block this, and then they switch into Haunter. Now we have to keep in mind that they have that Registeel, that it has a bunch of energy in the back, but they wasted their last shield, so we Sky Attack the Registeel, and we just have plenty of shields to take care of that. So, okay, 3-2 for the third set. So, we go 2-3, 4-1, 3-2, so right now we are 9-6. Not too bad for the first day of work with a Stunfisk. We see a Rufflet. Rufflet's always good to see. Now we're getting some points. We're accumulating some points over here. So going to the fourth set, we see a Jirachi lead, the Invisible Jirachi. And this is great for us because Doom Desire is not very effective. So before we waste any energy or try to Mud Bomb and get hit with a nicely timed switch, we have our Azumarill counter for the Altaria. So we take about our 30-35% off the Sky Attack, and here we go. Are they going to let it get knocked out? Basically, no. They're gonna, or yes, rather, they're gonna keep those shields. And it looks like they're gonna let Altaria go. So we're just gonna farm it down right here. And I like this spot. I like this position. Because now we have energy. We're up a Pokemon. They go into Whiscash. And Whiscash is a bit of a threat. You know I love Whiscash from the prior battles. but it's definitely a threat against this team because Blizzard is really good against Altaria and Mud Bomb is really good against Stunfisk. But it does take a lot of damage from our own Mud Bombs and from these Ice Beams. So we do a lot to get that Whiscash taken care of very quickly, no problems. And now we see a Jirachi, and it's pretty much going to be Jirachi versus Altaria and Stunfisk. Even though we both have 2 shields, this one is looking very bad for my opponent, I will say. We're not going to use any shields on the Altaria. We will let it get knocked out. We're going to do everything we can to put shield pressure on it, and then we know that Stunfisk has the best matchup against Jirachi, so we're just going to do everything we can to win that way. So even though it'd be not very effective, it could be a Psychic, it could be something else, so we are going to block it instantly, and I think this one is wrapped up pretty nicely. They're going to block it, they're going to fight to the death, honorable fighter. But that Mud Bomb isn't going to be able to take that win. So, set 4, we start off with a win. So we see a Meganium lead. This is our worst nightmare. We're going to have to very quickly switch into Altaria, and we do in their counter. Skarmory, perfect counter for Altaria. Not perfect, but we're going to have to watch. The Air Slash does do a lot of quick damage, and their Sky Attack does a lot, and we need to really block both Sky Attacks because we need Altaria to knock out that Meganium, and we don't use a shield right there. That wasn't the right play to me, and but we get a shield out of them, which to me doesn't seem like a right play on their part, because now they're somewhat opening up the door for a Azumarill to Ice Beam the Meganium down. And we're going to be able to farm this thing down a lot. So they switch instantly. Good play. They don't let us farm up any more energy. And we're going to go for the Ice Beam. If we can get the Ice Beam off, and they let it go through, we actually have a chance at winning this game. We're going to block that Frenzy Plant, and we're going to go for another Ice Beam before they can get it off. And this is going to be their last shield unless they let it go through. They don't. And it looks like they're not going to go for too much energy right here. They're just going to take us out. And they actually leave the door a little open for us. Because we can get this... Oh, we can't get the Mud Bomb off. They're actually going to get to another Frenzy Plant. We're going to be forced to use this shield. But we're still in the game. Right there, if we didn't speed tie and they went first, or however it works, we could have farmed up a little bit extra. But their Pokemon in the back, unfortunately, is Whiscash. If it wasn't, we could have got around Skarmory very easily. And we could have... potentially taking out the last Pokemon had it not been a Whiscash, but it is, so we am Scry out of there. So 1-1, set 4, and now we see another Nightmare lead in Tropius. Look at the quick damage, look at the hurt it's putting on us. We go Altaria, and what is a better Altaria counter than Bastiodon? Look how little damage Sky Attack does. That is like 5%, and it takes me all the time in the world to charge that up. This is basically, with this team, this is basically an auto loss. Seeing a Tropius or a Meganium in the lead and then getting countered with a Bastiodon. Even though that Flash Cannon is not very effective, I have no idea how we're going to pull this one out. We're going to try to farm a bunch of energy. If we can get them to waste shields... Okay, they don't waste a shield. So here we go. I was going to say, they waste both shields on the Bastiodon. Now we go Azumarill, Ice Beam, 4 times super effective. Maybe we win, but this isn't happening. This ain't going to happen. There's no way in hell this is happening. I can't believe I'm still playing the game. Good play. Okay. So, now we see a nice golden Altaria, and how do we decide to play this one? We farm up a little bit extra, almost enough for 2 discharges. They don't attack yet, and that's kind of telegraphing that they have enough for a Dragon Breath. Right here, when that attack comes in, when we're ready for the second discharge, it could be a Dragon Pulse. And it is, not Dragon Breath, sorry, I'm talking so fast. So we take that one. Normally I like to block that one now, but we take that one in this situation, and we get a shield out of them. We do get a shield out of them. So we lose switch lead, but we do get a shield. So now we're trying to figure out what we can do. We kind of play a little mind game and be like, all right, you tapping, you taking a break. We wait that little second, and then we go Altaria and we try to farm them down as quickly as possible, and they can't get to another Sky Attack. So we see a Registeel, and we think this time, all right, we have 2 shields. We're gonna be able to farm this thing down a little bit. We could always take 1 Flash Cannon, and then it's just gonna come down to whatever their last Pokemon is versus a Azumarill, and they're gonna let the Sky Attack go through. And we are going to block this. We didn't have to. We could have went Azumarill and tried to take care of it with farming energy and using Bubble and taking probably 1 Flash Cannon, I think. But they switch into Deoxys. We do use our shield, and I feel like we should use our shield here because it is a Thunderbolt, but we're going to save it for the last attack. And it charges up quickly. We do need to block this one. Hydro Pump will knock it out, and then we can possibly... I think right there we actually should have farmed a little bit more. That's a very important detail to some of these games, is the amount of farming you could do, because now I'm starting from scratch against this Registeel, and even though this isn't going to knock us out, and we are going to get to Ice Beam, we are going to be able to knock it out, but it's crucial that you're counting your opponent's moves and knowing how much energy they've built up and when they've used it and how much they have left, because right there we probably could have got a couple more on the Deoxys, and then right when the Registeel came in we would have been that much closer to hitting it before taking that Flash Cannon. So we do pull the win off, but important to keep that in mind. So right here we take a Mud Bomb, and then we try to hit them with the quick switch into Altaria to get them to waste their energy, which they do work successfully, but they have a good counter for the Altaria in Skarmory. But this game isn't an automatic L, because we can handle Whiscash with a Azumarill, whereas with a Grass lead we wouldn't really be able to. Once Altaria gets knocked out, we're in a really, really bad spot. So this game isn't an auto L, which is nice. And we're going to let this one go through. And it looks like we're going to go into Azumarill right here, and we're going to start farming to take care of the Whiscash. We could have went in with Stunfisk and started farming up so that when the Whiscash came back in, we start hitting it with some Mud Bombs and applying pressure to it. But it looks like we're going to apply pressure with the Azumarill instead. So here's the Whiscash. And here we go with the Ice Beam, so we still have both of our shields, which puts us in a nice spot. I think hanging on to shields for as long as possible is obviously not always what you want to do, but if you can, it's great. So we're going to take a Mud Bomb right here and still try to hang on to these shields, because if you can hang on to them, I mean, sometimes you hang on too long and then you lose the game because of it, but sometimes you put yourself in a really good position and then it really just puts pressure on your opponent, going, wow, they've put me in this spot and they still have 1 or 2 of their shields left. So we have to use one. And here we see a Swampert come out, and we're going to let them use this Hydro Cannon and take us out, and we know we have farmed energy. So if we can hit like 2 Mud Bombs, we have 2 raring to go right there, and now this is where the shield is so important. We farm up so quickly that they're going to go for this Hydro Cannon. Obviously, we use our shield here, and that's just enough. I mean, we had 2 raring to go, and they had 0 energy, so by the time we got that Mud Bomb off, they got their Hydro Cannon off, their energy was gone. But look at that. They kept Whiscash, and they have just enough. And what's funny enough about the game that we just watched is that when that happened, I actually didn't even see them switch out of Whiscash, and I didn't even catch it right now that they switched out. So when that Whiscash came back in, I was completely dumbfounded. I thought we knocked that out, and watching it back right now, I'm like, okay, we knocked out the Swampert, we did it. And then I saw the Whiscash, I was like, oh my god. So mistakes can always be made. Always. And if you're not on your A game, and if you're not paying attention to every detail, no matter how good of a player you are, no matter how good of a team you have, you can still I don't want to say get undermined, but you can still take L's sometimes. So, I know what you're thinking, Ryo. That was only 4 sets. All the Road to 500s have been 5 sets. For some reason, when I tried to screen record, airdrop it to my computer, I deleted it off my phone, and then on my computer it said error. So we lost the footage for the 5th set, but we ended up going 3-2 in the 5th set. So total, we went 14-11. Now, the day before in episode 2, we went 14-11 with the Scarm lead team. This time using Stunfisk as the lead and swapping Azumarill instead of Whiscash, keeping Altaria. We went 14-11, so a pretty good first day. Not the best, but for not having used Stunfisk before, could have been way worse. But I will say this again, tomorrow's episode, in the episodes to come, now that we're starting to get Stunfisk lead down, we're learning Altarias, we're learning against the Azumarills, we're learning against all these different elites, especially like the Registeels, the Steel types. We're figuring out, even against more neutral matchups, against Sableye and Vigoroth and Umbreon, and in matchups like that, we are starting to get a little taste of how to play against them. In tomorrow's episode, we go on a crazy run, and we get very close. We start seeing the end goal in sight. We start seeing the end goal. It is in sight. So, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, before I say as always, the first episode got a lot of views in the first day, more than I'm used to getting, and I really, really appreciate that, and all the likes, and any good feedback. It is very, very much appreciated. So thank you very much. If you enjoy the content, a like, a subscribe, a follow on Instagram at RyoPopGolden. All those things help me out a ton. Thank you so much for watching. It really, really does mean a lot to me, and I hope that you guys are learning, because I've really been enjoying putting these battles together and just being able to do something that I love, and trying to make something productive and good out of them. And if I'm helping even one person, then I guess my passion for something, helping out somebody else, just means a lot to me. So thank you guys very much for watching, and we will... Oh, I have a ton of water. This sucks. See you in the next one, baby.